Hello guys, welcome to the Vico Playground. Before we start, don't forget to click the subscribe button below. Hamza is a YouTuber, born on 1997, in the UK, who makes content based on self-help, productivity, fitness and relationships. He has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and he has a cult following consisting of the mostly teenagers. Hamza sells mentorship coaching programs. In this post, I will discuss the good and bad about Hamza Ahmed. Hamza's credentials. On his website there is no mention of his educational background, where or what he studied at university. It is believed he studied psychology, unknown whether he graduated or not. Either way, his credentials are missing, and his site is just filler content of storytelling with the whole before and now narrative. But that doesn't mean he can't be self-taught on stuff and knows stuff. Sure, but you're going on a whim to trust some guy in his mid-20s without any scientific background. He isn't some meditation guru or a relationship expert. Sure, he has an above-average physique, but that doesn't make him a fitness expert or a nutrition expert either. Great football players don't always make great managers. Don't get me wrong. They of course can, but the point is being a great player has no effect on being a great manager. As for his credibility with attracting women, he claims to have hooked up with a lot of girls from clubs, bars, pubs. While that is definitely plausible, especially considering the locations, still the only actual evidence we have of him attracting women is 2 ex-girlfriends. Now I know it's not easy to show evidence of hookups, but he could at least show the many Tinder matches blurred out that he claims to have get regularly. Oh, I don't need to prove that to you, sure, but this is to do with your credibility and the stuff that you claim. Generic advice that young kids think is incredibly valuable. It's great advice. Guys, to put very simply, this is subjective. His general audience is young, naive kids, and so to a lot of them his advice might seem great, when to most older people it probably does not. These young people might think people struggle to do the obvious stuff, so he gives pretty detailed, in-depth advice for most things. If someone is struggling to actually apply the theory they know, then more theoretical advice isn't necessarily going to make them take action. Overload of information can actually be a problem. Your brain has finite information in a limited space. You get too much advice and it can all cancel to zero. In modern society, we get too much information too quickly, and many have attention spans that are very low. Naval Ravikant that he saved me, guys. A few people will say that Hamza has saved them, and sure, perhaps he played a role in doing so, though his content also hasn't saved a lot of others. The element of feeling like someone saved them is that they drew enough inspiration from them to create a drastic change. That inspiration can even be got from the largest fake gurus, though there are also a lot more who weren't positively impacted or had wasted a bunch of money on courses that didn't create impact. Testimonials usually only show the good side. The basic message of Hamza is good. Something can be both generic, obvious advice and still be good if the main points are things like do focused work, exercise, meditate, gratitude journal, learn about your craft. Then sure, that's all good, but there's also no need to watch multiple vids on it like how to X, guide to X, etc. When it comes to these things, be a practitioner, not a theorist. Hamza, as many other self-improvement YouTubers do, takes the most popular topics like dopamine detox, NoFap, quitting social media, sleep, diet, exercise, meditate, etc., and just states obvious things while dragging it out to make the vids a lot longer than they need to be, and sometimes make multiple vids on the same topic. The basic message of Hamza is good, but to me it's also no special advice. Pretty obvious stuff to me. It's like with Jordan Peterson, his basic message of don't just complain, don't self-victimize, pull yourself together, act and decide well. That's all good, but when it comes to his philosophical talks there is some questionable stuff. Am I just a hater? No. I actually used to really enjoy and watch a lot of Hamza's content when he had under 10k subscribers on YouTube. This isn't one of those cases where as someone becomes more successful they get more haters. It's not about clout either. I could care less about whether this post gets clout. I just want to help people avoid a scam. This is about how as Hamza has grew in popularity, he has become more business focused and less interested in genuinely helping others. I understand that there will be some people, mostly from Hamza's cult, who will try to label me as a hater or a loser, all in attempts to try to avoid the logical issues presented in this piece. There's also a high chance that Hamza's fans will start calling me names instead of trying to understand the point, and I understand their path. They have been basically brainwashed into believing that Hamza has changed their life. I don't blame Hamza, let me make this clear. I do not blame him. The fact is there are many other content creators in the same field as him, doing the same thing as him, and I don't blame any of them. While I do think he is making easy money off mostly lonely, desperate people, I don't want to turn this into a debate on ethical issues. I'm just addressing the points and making it aware for consumers. As long as it's by legal means, I don't blame anyone for making money whatever way it is. The onus is on the buyer to be smart about it. The consumers need to take accountability for their actions as well. In terms of human decency, Hamza is probably at average. He's not necessarily evil for making money the way he is. He doesn't come across as a terrible human being, and that is perhaps why a lot of his younger audience seem to place some trust in him. One should be aware that just because someone isn't a bad person, that doesn't mean they have your best interest at heart. Oh, it's about accountability. Paid self-help courses are scummy by nature because the whole point of self-help is that in the end only you can do the work and improve yourself. Others are just guidance, and there's a bunch of free content, which is enough for people if they actually just apply the stuff. The problem is they do what's known as action faking, where they watch these self-help vids, and it makes them feel like they're taking action when they're actually not. The people selling the courses will be like, oh, it's all about accountability. We're here to make sure you actually take action, but you don't need to pay to do that. You can get the friend to hold you accountable, or you can hold yourself accountable. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable to do the work, especially when the course is over and how driven you were starts to decrease over time. You just don't understand business. Pretty much everyone with a YouTube channel wants to attract more viewers. I mean, that's basically the point in having a YouTube channel, so others can see your content. I have nothing against that. The point here isn't that he's making money. Everyone needs a way to make money, and it's not surprising as his audience size increases that he starts becoming way more focused on the business and caring less about helping others. And so I get why he is making vids on topic of the trends. Striking a balance between growing business plus genuinely helping others can be very difficult, as the two can at oftentimes cross as mutually exclusive. The criticism here is the scummy way that he's doing it. He's doing the generic self-help toxicity that large-based fake gurus do. Self-help in itself isn't bad. I don't believe the entirety of the self-help industry is bad. As someone put it, there must be a balance. Both your consumption and action must have a symbiotic relationship, and a combination of both can make self-help something that could prove to be genuinely useful. I'm not even saying Hamza's course itself is bad. I'm saying it's overpriced, as you can most likely create the same change as someone who takes it without paying $997. Hamza's site will advertise something like, this price is totally worth it, as it will be life-changing positive stuff. Whether you pay for some program or not, you still have to put in the work to create an impactful change. Paying hundreds could make someone feel like they can't allow that money to go to waste, and therefore be driven to accomplish whatever set goal. The problem with that kind of thinking is that a few years later, or perhaps even a few months later, they can lose all that drive and get complacent and start to fall back downhill. Am I saying to stop watching Hamza? No. If you like his free content and find it useful as a starting point for self-development, then okay. I'm just pointing out his flaws and bringing awareness to the scheming marketing aspect of the paid stuff. As long as you're not over-consuming his free content, then you should be fine. Now, some of you younger guys are probably thinking, well, watching just Hamza means you don't have to watch multiple other sources or read many books from 10-20 years ago, as you think watching just Hamza means you get all the info from just one source. The problem with that is, firstly, he says a lot of incorrect stuff. One example being much of his brochure. See below. Secondly, if you're constantly watching countless vids of his, then you're still spending similar amount of time as you would be from watching multiple different sources, with the difference being less credibility in Hamza's information. What I dislike about Hamza's content, Hamza's hypocrisy. A few months ago, Hamza made a video calling other YouTubers frauds for being clickbait. Calling others in the same field as frauds can help reinforce the idea to youngsters that you yourself are not a fraud. While Hamza's basic point makes sense, he also doesn't seem to understand the other side's point, which is that self-help shouldn't take over one's life and have it be their entire personality, potentially leading to becoming egotistical and narcissistic. Now, a few months later, he's doing the same clickbait titles like "Why I Hate Modern Women," "Why You Should Break Up With Your Girlfriend," etc. Hamza's advice can be dangerous to young people. Hamza made a video on how to psychologically manipulate people in a nice way. The problem with this advice is that you can end up having shallow relationships. It can be extremely hard transitioning all of that stuff to an actual connection or feel any affection. The other person ends up having a relationship with a mask, not the real you. The assumed premise for this even being considered a slightly good social tactic is that people only want what's good from other people, But we don't always know or even want what's best for ourselves and others without good values. If you have to plan out a whole mental strategy on how to manipulate her, stopping yourself from texting her when you want to just so she hungers for attention, you are spending a lot more effort in disguising your true self, rather than a guy who is himself and enjoys every minute he spends with the chick, as he just does whatever the fuck he wants. At the end of the day, she's the one who has you on a leash, as she's forcing you to change yourself for her sake. She's the one controlling you. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and press the like button.